I think a lot of Americans perceive China as to be the biggest threat. What a lot of people don't realize is like there's a lot of issues over there, especially with kind of the inverted population pyramid in China. The one child policy means that they have a lot of old people and no young people, which is really bad. I mean, they're headed for population suicide. And then there's other things too, right? Like the riots and
Yeah. Well, the biggest problems that they face right now are a financial system that is in shambles and needs direct life support from the government. And they've gotten that over the last 2 to 3 weeks. The People's Bank of China has lowered reserve requirements for commercial banks. They've incentivized commercial banks to loan directly to land developers. So there's like these lifelines going out to floundering firms all over China. And they're trying to get people back to buying properties that those developers are putting into the marketplace, but they won't let people out. So the unfortunate, and I don't know how you deal with this, but you went just a few weeks ago, 1,000 daily cases, then 5,000 daily cases. They surpassed 40,000 daily cases of COVID, and they've got the zero COVID policy in place still, where they're locking down cities again, right? So this impacts the global commodity trade. Oil's under pressure, copper's back under pressure. So they want safety and security from COVID and things like that. They also want a thriving economy, and yet their policies really aren't coherent at this point. They're not compatible. And so how this plays out and the time frame it plays out is really important, because now you've got folks who are basically saying, you're not locking us up anymore. It is very rare to have a countrywide dissent in China. You've got things that pop up on a regional basis, or somebody's not happy with this little regional boss or whatever. This is bigger than Tiananmen potentially. Tiananmen Square, go back to 1989. This is one place in China, one mass protest. Now you've got a countrywide protest, and they're basically saying, you can't treat us like animals. You're not locking us up in cages. We want to go back to normal. And a part of this is being driven by a 20% youth unemployment rate. So folks that 2.5 years ago, prior to COVID, had these great prospects coming through college. Look, the world is their oyster. They can do anything they want. Go global, stay domestic. You're going to make a ton of money. Lots of prospects for the Chinese college graduate. Now your youth unemployment is 20%. The economy is stagnant. The economy is now worst growth numbers we've had in 4 decades, right? And they don't have hope. So what do? They take to the streets. Mm-hmm. This is getting very interesting. How the government resolves this is probably the use of sesame credits. You're probably familiar with this, but using sort of a digital profile. Are you a good Chinese citizen, or are you a bad Chinese citizen? You get sesame credits if you're good, and you get credits taken away if you're bad. So you show up at a protest, I know where you've been because of your geolocation on your phone. Now you get bad sesame credits taken away. And maybe I increase the pressure by making your mother pay the price too. Your mother got negative sesame credits. She's going to have something to say to you at dinner time, isn't she?
Oh, my gosh.
So this like draconian social control mechanism, which has been put in place through COVID, is now on display for the world to see in China. How do the Chinese deal with it? Do they say, to heck with it? We don't care what our credit score is, our social credit score is. We want freedom.
Right.
Or do they buckle? Do they succumb to that social control? There's a lot in the balance.